Sorry.
Hello, SMM5 here, and today we'll be looking at some hot takes I requested from over a week ago, and I'll give my thoughts on them. I want to first say that rather we agree with these takes or not, I respect all of your opinions, and that as followers, none of you have given these takes out of toxicity or blind anger like some fans in the fanbase tend to do. I hope you all enjoy. Now let's get into it. Titan Bomb Omega says, the rapper arc is severely underrated. I honestly agree. Every other arc tends to be this big game-changing event that affects the SMG4 channel as a whole. While I do like these big events are around to keep things fresh, it's nice to have an arc like this that's not an end-of-the-world kind of deal. While I do think the Rapper Bob arc would probably be a mini arc like the KS2 and Western arcs if made in modern times, this arc was good and I liked it. IDK says, Number 1, Shroomie needs to become a main character instead of a side character. And 2, FM and X need non-Nintendo redesigns so they can be used. I absolutely agreed with the Shroomie take. He was one of the latest classic original characters to be introduced before the modern era began, and SMG4 still hasn't properly concluded his double identity arc. With any luck, SMG4 will extend the show saga into more mini-arcs, and one of them will make Shroomie the main character, and give him character development similar to Tari, which is one of my predictions for the show saga by the way. As for FM and X, I'm not really sure. While redesigns would be the logical option, it's not like SMG4 would use them very often anyways. If they weren't used a lot before the lawsuit arc, I doubt they'd be used now. Plus, just having this take in this video is probably enough to piss off an OG fanatic of SMG4 into going after us in the comments section. Yeah, I see you. But if they would be used more after a redesign, I'd definitely like that personally. They're OGs and it would be fun for them to go on more adventures. Supersonic Squeaky says, the Watfi 2022 rap was the only thing that was not rushed in the lawsuit arc. That's not a hot take, that's just a fact. Though to be fair, they probably didn't know what kind of arc to do that year, which is why the KS2 arc was also rushed and the Clown Fever episode didn't have any real follow-up. Still, it is a shame. The lawsuit arc was the perfect opportunity to have SMG4's version of Spider-Man No Way Home and the Super Mario movie and have a lot of fan service in it. Not only was it rushed as hell, they didn't go all out with this great premise either. Then the fan service in the rap would have felt even more powerful. Then again, perhaps we needed this failure for SMG4 to realize actually planning was needed, and we have it to thank for the current saga to happen. Regardless, I at least hope SMG4 learned the right lessons from last year's failure. Media4 says, Number 1, the classic era started in 2013 and ended in 2018. 2, Luigi is the character with the most wasted potential. 3, SMG4 began to decline in 2019, but really declined hard in the second half of 2020. 4, despite being a classic fan, I have no problem with human Meggy, except her personality got worse after Meggy's Destiny. 5, 2014 to 2019 had the best Watfis. Everything after sucked. 6, almost every episode this year, including the movies, have a classic equivalent to them, and I don't think it's a bad idea. For the first point, I agree. 2018 always felt like a transition phase for when SMG4 started to change its direction as a channel. The Waluigi and Rapper arcs did feel a lot like arcs with classic videos in them to me. For the second, I don't disagree, but I would definitely say Bell and Wimpu are more wasted than him, and Meggy to an extent. For the third, I actually have my own hot take. I don't think SMG4 sucks right now. Sure, 2022 was bad, but otherwise I've enjoyed most of the videos, the arcs, the characters, and the story-fueled direction of the channel. But that's just me. Fourth, I agree, though I actually think she started to get bad in 2021, particularly after Sunset Paradise, where she pretty much learned that it's okay to be an asshole because that's who she is. At least before Sunset Paradise she actually had some chill, and wasn't just a psycho who thinks her way to do something the only way despite being friends with some of the most unique people in the world. Regardless, I agree, she hasn't been great for a while. Justin Factory says, I hate the lawsuit arc for reasons you can probably read. Agree to disagree. I thought the lawsuit arc was alright. Not good, sure, but at least better than the YouTube arc, which in my opinion failed as an arc entirely. I agree that the main characters in this arc are pretty overused, and small in cast for a Fate of the World story. They could have at least included Bob and Bootkins to justify their redesigns. I don't know what retcons there were in particular, though I disagree with there being too many angering moments and having filler. If anything, this arc had too little time to fully develop anything, and in terms of bad moments, I think the good outweigh them entirely. I don't disagree with the Watfi being disappointing, but that was more because this arc really didn't need to end in another Watfi, not because it was poorly made. But overall a respectable take regardless. Bowser Jr. and Cinerace fan says, I want X and FM to return as redesigns. I agree, but I feel like the fanbase will riot over this. Then again, they also riot over fanships and any form of change, so maybe that just doesn't matter anymore. Seamless Shelf says, the idea of characters being possessed has become repetitive and formulaic these days. I don't entirely disagree, but two of those examples were technically a zero thing and SMG4 wasn't possessed and it's gotta be perfect. He was influenced by the demon keyboard and was taken over by the ambitions and insecurities that drove him to make the perfect video in the first place. SMG4 still had free will, he was just addicted to this video and the demon keyboard strengthened it. Though I do agree that if they had someone possessed now, it would be considered generic, depending on how they do it. Sir Steven says 3 things. Number 1, SMG4 should stop ending conflicts with movies, it's getting very repetitive. 2, Tari is better than Melanie. 3, SMG4 should use Wario and Waluigi more. For the first one, I respectfully disagree. I understand Watfi feeling repetitive, but that was because Watfi usually just boils down to the same plot, whereas the movies have entirely different plots. Saying movies are repetitive would just limit what SMG4 can do with conflict endings, especially when they've been pretty good so far. For the second, I also respectfully disagree. While I agree Tari was more consistent than Melanie, I think you underestimate how much Melanie has changed over the years. Tari pretty much spent 5 years as the same character, and only got one major change in becoming braver. Melanie changed from a literal piece of fruit to a sentient being, then from a sentient being to a sentient being who became close to someone, then from a sentient being who haven close to someone to a goddess. I mean, just look at her personality in Death Row compared to her first few appearances, there's a very obvious difference. I also heavily disagree that her arc was better executed in writing than Melanie, which is something I explained on DeviantArt. Tari's arc pretty much had her look up to the most poorly written character in the series, gets dragged around by said poorly written character, be given one good speech, and just change after a time skip. Melanie's arc into controlling her deity powers had actual progression, her getting noticeably better at it with each episode, and her motivation and drive were more compelling since she's not looking up to a know-it-all with the mindset of an SJW. Plus, from what little we've seen, Tari's starting to show a little bit of Psycho and Meggy in her where she's just annoyed at Mario and Bob's antics, whereas Melanie hasn't fallen under this trope that ruined Meggy and made Psycho bland. Though we haven't seen enough to say for sure that Tari is heading in that not-so-great direction, so I suppose we'll have to see where that goes in the future. For number 3, I actually agree with you completely. Wario and Waluigi aren't used a lot anymore despite being 2 of the most funny and chaotic characters on the channel, and potentially one of the best and funniest duos on the channel too. And considering that some of the duos used right now are either underutilized or just suck, we could really use some more variety. Overall those are all fair and respectable takes, even if I disagree with most of them. Orimer says, Meggy should have died during the anime arc. I don't disagree with your reasoning, but I don't think Meggy should have died in the anime arc. It would have felt really awkward for her to die just so some character who'd never gotten any screen time outside of one video could get further development. It still wouldn't fix the obvious issue of having not used Desti before the anime arc so her rivalry with Meggy could actually feel real. Though I do see where you're coming from. Buddy LOL says, have a Splat Squad video like a gang or have a girls only video, and fix Mario and Meggy's relationship. That's not a hot take but I agree, those video ideas are good, though I do worry for the inevitable Mario torture the latter would have just to force Mario into a video because of the algorithm. Otherwise it's a good idea. And I agree that Mario and Meggy's relationship needs to be fixed, though for the sake of me not going on another rant I will just end it there. VDD Brother says, SMG4 is just being used for Glitch Productions funding. I don't disagree, but at least SMG4 still puts actual effort into their work, which is why we have the TV saga and people in the SMG4 crew that actually care about whether or not the quality of the content is good, like Medi Excalibur. Compare that to, say, Super Mario Logan, a YouTube channel that is actually a lost cause. That channel puts almost zero effort into most of their work, makes nearly every one of their characters unlikable, and never learns the right lessons. At the very least, we know SMG4 isn't lazy and ignorant enough to make a trilogy of disgusting videos with disgusting premises. Todd says, SMG4 character personalities need to be fixed. Depends on which SMG4 characters we're talking about. I think SMG3, SMG4, Melanie etc. have good personalities that don't really need fixing. Though I agree if we're talking about Meggy and Psycho, since one's pretty bland and the other's just annoying. And I would be inclined to agree that characters like Keizo, Wimpu, and Belle need to be used more so their personalities can develop. Trevor says, Meggy is the most inconsistent and overused character in the main cast. Dude, that's not a hot take, that's just a fact. These days, Meggy is either annoying as hell or mildly unengaging, which isn't how I would describe Melanie or Tari or SMG3, good characters that have actually had good progression over the years. Meggy has yet to play a major role in a video again since the elevator video, and at this point I am not complaining. SMG3 Fanatic says, stories are getting boring and repetitive. Somewhat agree. I do think the plots of most videos these days are too simple for what they can do with their animation, and I do wish more videos were more out there and wild in premise like Mario Steals the Constitution, or went more out there with its premise like Mario Ballin'. But again, as a former SML fan, who's seen true repetitiveness, I'm pretty easy to satisfy. So those are all the hot takes for this video. Some takes I agreed with, some takes I disagreed with, all takes are fair enough. Do you agree with their hot takes? Are you hopeful for SMG4 to do well this year in 2024? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below, as long as they're respectful. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. That's all for today, see you all next time.